It was around 10 o'clock as we headed towards the small town of Chappell Hill, Texas. Our destination, the Chupacabra Leather Company, owned and operated by the legendary cowboy Steve Mooreland. We heard about Steve's shop from a friend who had commissioned a custom holster from him, and we were eager to see the master leather worker in action. We finally arrived in Chappell Hill and made our way to the downtown area where Steve's shop was located. As we walked through the door, we were greeted by the unmistakable smell of leather and the sound of Steve's booming voice.
Well, all right. Well, Steve Mooreland,
Clover Carroll.
how are you?
Mr. Cooper, how are you today? Good to see you. Good to have you in here.
So good to
How are
see
you?
you.
Wow, this is a surprise.
It is. How did you get a microphone? If we're just now meeting each other, how did you have a microphone on?
Don't everybody have one? The front, I'm not in charge of.
Who is?
My wife and my partner's wife, they take care of front. They pick purses, earrings, candy. We try to find handmade stuff in Texas. We do, my partner and I do pick out the hats. I've got an assortment of some cowboy hats, some for sale and some is just real special to me. But I've got some knives up here, guns, and in the back is where we do all our work.
So you were telling us about a deer attack. Tell us
Yes.
about that.
My buddy and I were going to work one day out on 390, and we noticed a deer hung in the fence, and it was a decent sized buck. He was hung with his back leg on the top of the fence. So we thought, well, we like deer, let's go rescue him. It's not deer season. So we went down there. My buddy got on one side of the fence, I got on the other. We had to clip the wire. The foot was just twisted up so much in there. And when he clipped the wire, I thought the deer was just going to take off running. Instead, he just looked at me and he circled me like this. And he had that look in his eye. I knew we were fixing to get in a fight.
Is this a buck?
Yes.
You have horns?
Yes. I've actually got a picture of this. So I eased my hands up like this, and Stefan said, "You better run." And I said, "I can't. He's fixing to get me." And at that time, we were about this far apart. As he lunged at me, I was lucky enough to get his horns.
Wow.
So we wrestled around for a minute or two. The only thing that saved me was I think this deer was just totally tired. Don't know how long he was up in the fence, but he was still putting up a good fit. So I wrestled around and finally he kind of stopped a little bit. We both were taking a break. And I told Stefan, I said, "Get a picture of this." He goes, "I don't have my phone." So I had to put the deer in a headlock, pull my phone out, throw it to him, and he got a picture. And then the deer went back to fighting again. So we went around a couple more circles, but I was able to let him push me to the fence. Stefan reached through the fence and grabbed him, and we held him there as I crawled over the fence. And then we let him go thinking he'll go. But he jumped the fence and got on our side. And then we took off running, but he didn't chase us. But I was very lucky he was out of breath already. But I do have a picture. I do have that picture. And the first person we showed it to said, "Where'd y'all get a stuffed deer like that?" And he's not stuffed. That really happened.
Well, we've got a pistol we want to show you.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. Isn't that funny though? As you pull that out, there's things that connect themselves to families and handed down, but nothing seems to be more meaningful than grandpa's guns or grandpa's this or grandpa that. But the guns just seem to be, this is ammo, I feel.
This is the original sock that it was in.
Let's see here. I'm excited about this.
So originally, what I looked at
Ooh.
online, originally made in 1889, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but supposed to be around 140 years old, maybe.
That's nice. and it's got a good stiff spring to it anyway. But I'm going to tell you one thing about this gun right now, and I think this is what, if I'm not mistaken, this falls into this what they call the second gen, okay? And it's this click right here. See that? That makes it to where if you hit it, it will not go off. Wyatt Earp was having coffee one morning. His gun fell out of his holster, hit the floor, and went off. He very embarrassingly picked it up, stuck it back in his holster, and left without finishing his coffee. That's an old story I've heard from one of the old West tellers, you know. But that is nice. I like that. So this is a 3840 Colt. And with that, I've got actually two guns I want to show you, because when you pull that out and I seen this one, it reminds me of my gun that I had when I was a kid that I have back here. I've never run, I got it when I was a kid and I wore the spring out in it. I had to replace the spring in it, which is a old style leaf spring. And you can tell that it's
Seen better days.
It's, oh gosh, it has been rabbit hunting. I've killed rabbits and squirrels. I could shoot a squirrel out of a tree with this. It was one of those guns like we were talking a minute ago, like the Ruger there. It just feels so trusty. I feel like I can hit anything with it. As a kid, me running around, I carried this and I felt like there wasn't anything I could pick it off. The gun just made me feel good and I didn't feel like I could miss. But that's cool. Now this one belongs to a particular person in town. This is a very rare gun. Okay, I'm going to tell you what this shoots, and it'll ring to what I was saying a minute ago. This is a 4440 caliber rifle. So it shot a 44 caliber bullet with 40 grains of powder in the shell, right? Looks a whole lot like a 45 caliber, but it's a 4440. This one is probably, we guesstimate that it's 1883, and it is called a Colt Burgess. Wasn't that many of these made, and it's pretty heavy. It's got an octagon-shaped barrel. What's great about this is how good a shape the wood is in. So it's about 140 years old. These rifles were actually so good, Winchester wrote a letter to Colt and said, "You quit making rifles and we won't make pistols." So they honored that. And this thing is just in great condition. And I'm going to let you hold it. And I'm going to tell you, as much as I've been around weapons all my life, this is the first Colt Burgess that I ever held. So you get to hold one now. And that old barrel, this octagon-shaped barrel, is pretty heavy. But
What do you think? Pretty heavy, huh?
That's really cool.
holding it, you kind of wonder if any lawmen may have carried it, or just who carried it, or did they just hunt with it? How many scabbards on a horse did it fit in? Yeah. It's a cool piece though, huh? This wall here is around 1860.
Oh, really?
This one over here is around 1912. So what that means is this was more than likely an alleyway. So if you notice, everybody scratched the wall.
There's a lot of names scratched into it.
Yeah. So luckily there was a couple of guys that dated theirs. This little fella right here is either the son or the father, I can't remember, of whoever built the Stagecoach Inn down there. Dated 1864.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Now, next door was what we might call a pharmacy, but there was a doctor that lived there, and his name was Perkins, and he signed the brick right here. So let's use our imagination. This is an alleyway. What is the doctor doing? Probably back here smoking cigarettes and getting him a little drink or something like that, hanging out in the alley. So if you look up there, you see 1914. There's a couple of 1914.
There's a
So
1914.
what was going on in 1914?
World War I.
World War I. So they're probably back here standing on each other's shoulders, scratching the brick, which I am glad they did. So I told you that there was a doctor.
Uh-huh.
So behind the building, we found this in the dirt, which is a medicine bottle, quart top. And it's left my mind what it is because I looked it up what it is. I can't remember, but it is a medicine bottle.
I have one that looks real similar to this.
And here's what we also found back there.
Oh my gosh.
What does that say?
RFD.
RFD. So
Mail.
this lock probably went in this post office way back
wow.
when. It was probably a mail carrier bag, wouldn't you say, Clover?
Of
Maybe,
course.
maybe one of the. Of course.
Wow.
That's cool.
I have
huh?
one real similar to this. I'd love to show you sometime. I've gotten
Anytime,
lot
next
of
time
them.
you come, you bring them in. All right. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting the bullet loops on the belt with this machine. Now, Cooper, I'm not good at math.
Uh-oh.
So when I figure things out, I have to write them down. Okay, 45 caliber, and I've got two measurements here. I've got 1 3/8 and 3/4 of an inch. All right, and you see there's a 38 caliber 12 gauge because I make some 12 gauge loops also. So what I've done is I've gone and I've already marked all this. The length here that's going to wrap around the bullet is 1 3/8. You see my little stitch marks there where I'm going to sew? So here, every 3/4 of an inch is where I'm going to stitch it. All right. Now here's the part that you have to work on. And I'm going to turn the machine on. And I'm going to step right here. Now I'm going to run this needle a little bit further. Come on. There it goes. And I'm going to go till it steps off of the leather. Boom, like that. I'm going to flip this piece over this way. Hit what I call the foot. Put it in reverse. And I want to go all the way to that point right there. Right there. I'm going to flip this leather back over. Line up my little stitch mark. See that? And then I'm going to sew it straight down. Oh, let's go back and forward. All the way till it steps off of the leather. And then I repeat that about 20 times. But let's test it out. Let's take one of my bullets over here from this belt. And let's see. Perfect. You see how tight that is? You want it where it fits in there just like that. So that's how I do that. Now, on the holsters, you've seen how I was doing that. Here's something weird. Okay, this is a cross draw holster that I wore here. And you've seen what the holster looked like unfolded, right? Look how weird this one looks to make that cross draw. Look how weird that looks. It looks a little different, don't it? It has to fold that way to fit so that the gun is put at an angle like that.
Look at that.
This kind of stuff is going to last a little bit more than a lifetime.
Wow.
Now, if I make one like hanging up front that you might buy on the internet or something, and that's what we're going to do here because I'm going to start carrying Old West guns, is I'm going to have some that are not lined like this. They're lighter, a little bit thinner leather, but they'll last pretty good. I'm going to have them for half that price. So you see my heroes, right?
Yeah.
I've got around the store. That's my black and white wall over there.
Tell us about that.
Well, the people that you see on the top there, you got Hopalong Cassidy, the Lone Ranger, and of course, John Wayne.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, Ronald Reagan.
the greatest president ever.
Yes, absolutely. Then you got Tom Mix, also known for his hat. And then you have Roy Rogers, Dale, and Gabby. And those are all people from the silver screen and a little bit on.
Well, I think we have enjoyed our visit here today. I want to thank you.
Thank y'all for coming to see me.
Showing all these
Super.
great artistry and the guns and the history and the hats. And we're going to get up back on the road and see you soon.
And so we hit the road again, grateful for the chance to have met Steve and experienced the magic of the Chupacabra Leather Company, a true slice of Texas where the art of leatherworking and the spirit of the cowboy come together in a unique and unforgettable way.